And hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I am here with Riptide. And Riptide, do you care to just give a brief introduction to what we're doing here?
Yeah, guys, hello, and I am back with Mich on Itch. So, what we are doing here, um, I'm very excited to announce that this is the pilot episode for a new series that we are planning, going to be called the Rich on Itch podcast. And the reason that is called Rich on Itch is because that is a ship between Riptide and Mich on Itch, who are the two hosts of the podcast here, truly. But basically, we have a couple of segments that we're just going to be discussing each week. We're going to be, discussing the latest things in the gaming community, the online community, specifically YouTube, a little bit of sports mixed in there, and we will have, like special segments where we're going to give you an interesting fact or read our favorite comment or, yeah, no, very exciting stuff planned.
Yeah, so we'd just like to welcome you guys to the RichOnItch um
Rich on Itch
podcast.
podcast.
Sorry, I had
Yes,
a brain fart
that's
there.
what it's called.
Yes.
The Rich on Itch podcast.
We'd like to welcome you all to the RichOnItch podcast. And Riptide, are you ready for the first segment of this series?
I am indeed ready for the first segment.
So, for the first segment, we are going to every week go over a quote that was said by one of us, and we're going to talk about it, get into the deeper meanings of what we meant, and maybe answer a couple questions like we're going to do this first week. So, our first week's quote comes from Riptide Gaming. And the question is,
Here's truly.
Is Riptide or Mich more cool?
Okay, so I have a very detailed explanation for this. And by the way, I'm arguing that Mich on Itch is way cooler than Riptide Gaming. And here's why. Mich on Itch actually posts and streams, and you kind of need that if you want to go places on YouTube. Personality wise, Mich on Itch is cooler, simply just based off of the fact that listen, man, you're smart, okay? That's what makes you cool. You're smart.
So I appreciate it, but you yourself, you're cooler than you give yourself credit for. You're funny, you have a trident sometimes until you throw it off of a ledge and never see it again.
The demons, they've come back.
But nah, you've had some fun series. You're a funny guy. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, man. If you say so, old buddy, old pal. Anyway, I think that is there more to discuss about this quote? I mean, here's the thing: we did not really settle this question at all. Guys, tell us in the comments: is Riptide or Mich more cool? We really want to hear your input. Maybe give a Google Docs link or something that's like an entire thesis to support your argument, because as you know, we are nothing but genuine. We back our statements up with nothing but genuine science and facts here on the Rich on Itch podcast. So
yeah, so let us know what you think. Who's cooler? The answer better be Riptide.
No, Mich on Itch. She has more subs. There's a reason for that. Even though I have 169 right now, which is,
well,
nice.
That's enough to make you the cooler of the two. But yeah, let us know what you guys think, and I feel like that's a good point to move on to the next segment, Riptide.
Yes. So next we're going to be discussing there is an age-old problem in the gaming sort of corporation community, in that gaming corporations actually have had a pretty bad problem of overworking their workers, and just the way that they treat their employees in general.
Yeah.
And on this podcast, we would like to spread, some sort of awareness on that, because I know before Mich talked to me about it, or I did any sort of research into this, that it is actually true. And yeah, so Mich, would you like to discuss more about this?
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to just start by kind of explaining what the sort of deal is. There's a problem that gaming companies have had for a long time, and it's already been talked about, but I figured it's a good thing that, we can always raise more awareness about it because it's a huge problem. There's a lot
Hmm.
of gaming companies that tend to require from their employees unreasonable hours in to work for them. Like in the case of a lot of companies, you end up seeing stuff like 12-hour days, 13, 14-hour days, no paid overtime because they have to reach a due date and stuff like that. And I've heard before that some theories on where this problem sprouts from. Some people say that it's partially because of the gamers expecting due dates and stuff on time. However, in my opinion, it's always got to root back to the companies. Who cares about your due dates? They're the ones who set the due dates in the first place. I mean, if you're going to set a time frame, it makes sense to follow it, and these companies need to stop setting time frames that require 16 hours a day from their employees and no paid overtime and stuff like that. Like when these companies are setting their timelines, they need to set reasonable timelines that don't require their employees to work for 14 hours a day. What are your thoughts on that, Riptide?
Yeah, so obviously working that long out, there's a reason that we have laws in the states against hours that long, especially with no paid overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because people just get worn out after that, and the fact that these companies are making their employees work that long without any sort of extra pay, it's pretty disturbing to me. And when it comes to the whole game due dates and stuff, yeah, true, the gaming community can be kind of hostile when it comes to when they expect a product, when they want it out. But I mean, first off, that makes perfect sense. The company, should be, making a product. The company should have their fans in mind. But if there's one thing that they put above their community and their fans, it's their employees. Their employees, the safety, the mental health, the well-being of their employees should definitely be the top priority.
Mm-hmm.
And working over hours in this case, you should definitely make sure that all your employees, are getting proper pay, proper hours. And I mean, in the long run, you're going to end up getting a better product because of it anyway. Now, it might take a month longer than you wanted, but so what? You know?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, and this is actually something that's interesting to me because I saw a chart one time that was showing like the difference in productivity of employees throughout hours, and
Hmm.
employees who work strictly 8 hours a day and don't go over on their time and they get rest in between and stuff like that, they usually see a peak in their productivity around 2 to 3 hours in. But like the difference in how hard an employee works from that point of peak to hour 8, there is a steep drop off at the 8th hour of work. And
Yeah,
when you're
for sure.
making your employees work for 12, 13 hours, like it just keeps falling. And one of the problems is then when they come back to work the next day, the rise isn't as high. You're not going to
Hmm.
see the same level of peak performance as you do off of 8-hour days. So there's reasons why we have an 8-hour work structure and why, you're supposed to have paid overtime and stuff like that and not expect your employees to work without pay and stuff like that. So it's clearly a huge problem. It's something that I personally think needs a lot more awareness brought to it. We need to, be holding game companies accountable for this. And at the same time, we also need to remember when we're observing the release dates of games and stuff that the people behind this are still human. I mean,
Yeah.
like as fans and stuff like that, I think we need to dial it back a little bit when it comes to how mad we get when a company misses a due date and stuff like that. And I get it. Having a game that you think's supposed to come out in summer of 2021 and then it reaches summer of 2021 and they're like, no, we're pushing it back, can be really annoying. Now, I think there also comes a balance here when you can tell when a company way overestimates and says, we're going to have it out in summer 2021 and then it's not out until like 2023. That's the point that they've
Yeah.
taken it too far. The company fully deserves it if they've lost all attention to the game by the time it comes out. But
Yeah.
it's up to companies, in my opinion, to do a good job of advertising their game when it's close enough to completion that they can have a strict due date in place.
Yeah, no, and um yeah, I definitely think you're right about that. I actually like what Minecraft has done with the latest update because they've gone and said, listen, we're going to be packing a lot of stuff into the next update. Like the next update, just like, the last Nether update, we've had two major updates in a row, completely and fundamentally changed the game. So they're taking the extra time not only to make sure that the product is ready when it comes out and splitting up into two different updates, but they're also spacing it out more. Um, Specifically, one of the reasons they listed is because they wanted to make sure that their employees were okay with health. Because, Minecraft's a tiny bit of a different example just because of how massive they are and how many people they have working on this update. But
Yeah.
still, you can appreciate that they at least, took the time to split this update up a bit more to give their employees a bit more of a break.
Yeah, for sure, and that's the sort of thing that we need to see more in the gaming community. And the thing I like about how Mojang did it is they're still going to be coming out with an update. They
Yeah.
didn't go, we're just pushing it back, we're not going to do anything. They're going, okay, we're going to split it up. We're not going to have quite as many features as promised, but we're going to push it back, and we're still going to get you all the features we promised, and we're still going to get some of them to you at the time that we said that it was going to come out. So you're not going
Yeah,
to
at
be
least
left empty-handed.
50% of them.
Yeah, so as a result, they did it in a way where, it's not going to end up being pushed back indefinitely. We're still going to get an update in mid 2021 and stuff like that, which I really appreciate because it's annoying when a company just doesn't deliver anything.
Yeah, no, Minecraft didn't go and it's not like they're waiting forever to release the second part of the update. I mean, 6 months is a long time, or however long it is. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 5 to 6 months between the two parts of the update. But that's not it's not like 3 years like some game companies do. So yeah, no, I definitely applaud Minecraft on that front, and yeah, guys, do a bit more research into this. I know that I am definitely going to because this stuff just ain't right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
feel like Minecraft's, perspective on that is part of why they've been able to last so long, which I feel like talking about why Minecraft lasts so long brings us into a good segue into segment 3, which we're going to be talking a bit about Fortnite's continued decline and,
yeah. So
how it just keeps falling.
yeah, so I don't know if Mitch is going to put this in, but I know I'm going to. On the screen right now is a meme that our good friend Nightmare sent to me. Link in the description below. Go check him out. Great channel. And basically, this meme is so true. Like the Grim Reaper coming towards Minecraft, and Minecraft just asks, "Was I a good game?" And then the Grim Reaper looks down at his notes and go, "Oh, sorry, wrong game." Turns towards Fortnite.
Mm.
So, essentially, guys, if you take a look at the Google Trends for Fortnite in just the past 12 months, you can see that it hasn't been that long since it was last super relevant. I mean, it was last, had very high search interest in late August of 2020. Had very high search interest then. But now we can see that its search interest has dropped by roughly 75% going into May. It started to pick up a bit over the last week. And what's very interesting about that is we can see that one of the biggest drops that it's had, for one, it had a pretty big drop between November and like mid-November. Well, actually, no, this is just like late November to early December. It had a big drop, but one of its biggest drops in the past 12 months happened in March. So, Mitch, why do you think that this is?
Well, I think we have seen an exodus of gamers moving from Fortnite to other games. They've like it's hit the point where Fortnite's not releasing the sort of updates the people they want. Season 2 helped save them a little bit, but people got bored of it pretty quickly because it's always been the same thing over and over and over again with Fortnite. So as a result, people are interested in finally seeing some new games and stuff like that. And March 2021 also signifies one of the largest increases in player base for Rainbow Six Siege, which is a game I play religiously pretty much.
Both R6 and COD Warfare, though. Those are two games that both saw spikes in March, and Fortnite saw a decline.
Yeah, Call of Duty Warzone also saw a massive spike in March. It's gone from being a pretty irrelevant game that almost nobody plays to, as the last couple months, it's been seeing trending on YouTube. It's been seeing spikes in player base. Call of Duty Warzone has seen massive spikes. Now, one of the reasons why Call of Duty Warzone hasn't seen quite as large of a spike in like PC player base, for example, is they've done a really bad job of optimizing their game for PC, so even people with mid-end computers still can't play Call of Duty Warzone well. So as a result, they haven't seen as large of a spike as games like Siege have in PC player base.
We speak from personal experience.
Yeah, I have a mid-end computer, but I couldn't play Call of Duty Warzone smoothly because it's just that poorly optimized. So as a result, Call of Duty Warzone has seen a lot of the console players move over to Warzone, and then Rainbow Six Siege has seen a huge spike in PC gamers and stuff like that. So
you can go.
So yeah, it's one of those things where Fortnite has propped up two very prominent games to greater success via the timing of their crash. And Fortnite, people have considered Fortnite dead for quite a while, but they still frequent trending on YouTube. They still, Fortnite's still been a popular game, but it's just keeps seeing more and more decline as they're losing a lot of their player base without seeing new faces added in.
Fortnite is definitely not gone. Like, it's not off the face of the earth. It's not totally, like, completely, utterly dead, 6 feet under. You can definitely see it's on its way out, and I've definitely seen huge spikes in games like R6 and COD Warzone, the ones we just mentioned, and some others. Even I think I saw the other day that Apex is starting to pick up again. And yeah, so Fortnite has kind of just seen a bunch of players leave and go to all these other games. And yeah, I think that you're definitely onto something with that, Mitch.
Yeah.
Because something happened in March, I guess, where a lot of people just left it for some reason, whether it's to go to other battle royale games or other shooter games.
Yep. And I feel like that's a good point for us to move into segment 4, which for segment 4, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing up something that happened this day in the past. So in this case, it's May 19th, I believe. Is that correct, Riptide?
Yes.
Okay.
May 19th is the date we're recording. It's going to be coming out on a different day, but we're going to be doing it off of the day we're recording.
Yeah. That gives us a bit more freedom to move around and stuff. But yeah, for May 19th in 1963, Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail was published, and King used the open letter to defend his nonviolent resistance against racism and segregation. It became one of the central texts for the civil rights movement in the United States.
Yeah, so that is a very cool thing that happened today. I've read a bit of that letter because of my history book. I had to read a bit of that. And Martin Luther King, great man for what he did to, open people's eyes to the injustice that was going on at the time, and one of the leaders of the civil rights movements, and he was a great man. Kind of disagreed with him religiously on some stuff. I have different religious ideologies, but he did. But
yeah, overall,
can't take away from the great work that he did.
Yeah, he was a great man who did a lot for his people and for this country in general.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just cool that it happened on
Mhm.
this day in 1963. Mitch, I believe that you have something to talk about when it comes to the Apex Legends update.
Okay, yeah. So for this next segment, we're going to be talking about news going on with new games coming out, new updates, stuff like that. So in this case, Apex Legends has seen a recent update which added an arena mode, which adds 3v3 fast-paced game mode. It's actually pretty cool. I looked into it and I played some and stuff. It's a cool game mode. It's a lot of fun. I feel like I enjoyed it a lot more than the battle royale mode. It adds different tactics into an already great game, and it's a ton of fun. Now with the update, there's also been some balance issues with Lifeline becoming way overpowered in the meta right now. She has an absurd pick rate compared to other characters, and also has a much larger win rate than any of the other characters in the game. Now, the company behind Apex Legends did say that they have no plans to nerf her as is. However, if things keep going, pretty soon they'll be forced to pull her down. And it's interesting because this is one of the situations where, despite the fact she hasn't seen any major buffs or anything like that, due to the meta of the game changing around her and other game modes and stuff being added, it caused her to see a jump in the meta despite not having any new significant buffs or abilities, which it's always interesting to observe game metas, as Riptide knows from Brawl Stars time. But
Indeed.
yeah,
Meta is everything.
So it'll be interesting to see how EA moves on with Lifeline, and what we'll see for future updates. I really hope Arena sticks around.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing going on there with all of the balance changes and everything. I know sometimes people don't realize balancing stuff for games is super tricky.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't speak from experience or anything, but I've like watched videos of people explaining it and stuff, and you have to have everything in mind. Like, okay, but if we balance this, I'll use Brawl Stars for example, since that's, you know, a very meta based game that you and I both know.
Yep.
You know, if this brawler has a big nerf, will that make this brawler too overpowered, or will that make the brawler we're nerfing too weak? How does this, you know, balance change match up with the maps that are currently in the game? So even though I don't play Apex personally, I definitely get that.
Yep. Yeah. So
And all of the stuff that's going on over there. That new arena mode does sound pretty cool, actually. And also, yeah, I've never heard really anything bad about Apex. Like, the worst response I've ever gotten from anyone who played Apex was like, yeah, it's okay.
yeah,
You
Apex
know?
Legends, like I don't care for it as much because it's a battle royale game. I don't battle royale just
Yeah.
aren't my type. But with the new
Yeah.
arena mode, it's actually pretty good, and it runs smoothly. It's a good game.
Yeah, no, that's pretty rare for an EA game.
Yeah, right.
EA Sports to the game.
Okay, and I feel like that's a good point since
We're just, these segues are on fire today. Speaking of EA produces a bunch of sports games such as Madden, FIFA, and NBA 2K. So this is just part of the podcast where we go over a bit of sports that's going on. So, Mitch, the NBA has adopted a new playoff system, which I find interesting. So, I don't know if you kept up with NCAA tournament at all this year. Well, actually, ever. I'm pretty sure that's always been a thing. But this year, I know for sure that they had play-in games. So basically, they take low-seeded teams, match them up against each other, and whoever wins that game gets to go into the playoffs. So it's like a new first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so basically having a first round where only the bottom teams duke it out. So in that way, teams that wouldn't have been able to make it into the playoffs before can get in, and some teams
Exactly.
that maybe would have squeaked in due to technicalities then have to play another game or two to prove that they really did earn their way into the playoffs and didn't just get to sneak in over a team who deserved it more.
Yeah, so I do like what the NBA has done with their new schedule, and that basically instead of there being seven, 7 teams, I believe, 8 teams for both the East and the West divisions. What's happening is they're going to have play-in games between ninth and 10th seeds, as well as the 7th and 8th seeds.
Mm.
So basically, whoever wins the 7th or 8th seed is going to go on and play the second seed of each conference, and the whoever wins the ninth or 10th, um, whoever wins the ninth or 10th battles that they're going to be having are going to go on to play the number 1 seed. So I think that's very interesting. And that's the thing, it sets up for upsets too, because you're going to have these play-in teams that are just going to barely sneak in because of the play-in, or they could win their game by a blowout. I don't know, but then those teams are going to go on to play the 1 and 2 seeded teams. So I think that that is just an interesting way that they're doing it, trying to set up for a couple of upsets and giving 4 more teams a chance to be in the playoffs. I'm always been for expanding the NBA playoffs because I've always felt like for the amount of teams and the amount of games played, it's kind of short.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So
yeah, and unlike the NFL where you kind of have to keep the playoffs limited because if you expand it too much, you're opening for more injuries and fatigue and stuff like that. So you can't really expand it too much. In the case of the NBA, there's not as many concerns about that, and you're able to expand it a lot further.
Yeah, no, not nearly as much. So we do have 2 games going on the night I'm recording this, so I guess I'll go over those real quick. First one, the play-in game is the Lakers and Golden State, which is an interesting play-in game because the Lakers won the NBA championship last year, and the Golden State Warriors are just notoriously good. So it's kind of interesting seeing them, kind of in the bottom of the barrel dwellers for the people in the playoffs, but. Yeah, I personally am hoping that Golden State wins that game because, what can I say? I like Steph Curry. Yeah, and then also tonight we have the Bears and the Spurs playing, or the Grizzlies. I just call them the Bears. Wow, we have the Grizzlies and the Spurs playing, so we will definitely keep up with that. My Pacers are playing. In a different game. So yeah, I will be rooting for my Pacers in the NBA playoffs, even though I don't really watch the NBA that much. I'll probably pay a bit of attention to the playoffs though. Next in NFL, this is the last thing we're going to cover for sports today. Today, the Arizona Cardinals asked the NFL to retire the number 40 in honor of Pat Tillman. So if you guys don't know who Pat Tillman is, he played in the NFL, and he decided to take time off from the NFL to serve in the military overseas when the U.S. started entering all the wars back in the Middle East, back in, early 2000s. It was 1999 through 2000, basically until now. We haven't really ever left. So yeah, he went over there to serve and was killed while he was over there. So the Cardinals have asked the NFL to retire his jersey, and I am all for it. He was a good man, and I have respect for anyone who died in wars. So that is all we have for the sports segment today.
Okay, so then now we are going to be moving on to the reading the comment section. Now, in this case, we don't have...
We have no comment section for this, podcast. So we're just going to be pulling up the comment that kind of started off this entire podcast thing.
Yes. So, let me just give a bit of background to this one. So, I was doing a challenge where I was mining out a chunk. I was seeing how fast I could go from opening a world to getting an entire chunk mined out. Now, Riptide hopped on and he joined me for it so that I wouldn't suffer through it all by myself.
Yes,
And
very noble of me.
we talked for like an hour or so. So then, yesterday, or I guess this morning, Manta Ray leaves a comment saying it's 1 a.m. and I'm sitting here thinking you and Riptide should start a podcast. I literally listened to you guys talk for almost 3 hours.
Manta Ray link in the description, by the way.
Yeah.
Go check him out as well. Sorry, I gotta cop out for all our friends. You know,
Yeah.
I have to.
So I then am like, okay, I'll at least talk to Riptide about it. I've always kind of wanted to do something sort of like that. So
Me too.
So I send Riptide a couple messages. We talk back and forth, and we ultimately decide to do it. And we've pretty much spent the rest of the day figuring out stuff that we're gonna do for it.
Yeah. So thank you, Manta Ray, for that comment. I don't know about you, Mitch, but I have enjoyed this podcast so far. We'll see if our fans agree.
Yeah, this has been a ton of fun. Okay.
Yeah, so yes, thank you, Manta Ray, for that comment. Now, speaking of YouTube comments, Mitch, we have a bone to pick with YouTube.
So for the last and final segment, we're going to be talking about stuff that YouTube's done wrong, stuff that they've, kind of given creators the short end of the stick on stuff and all that. So for today's segment, we are going to be talking about inconsistency they've had with like copyright issues and stuff with the for kids and all that, and just the complete insanity that some creators have had to go through with this, and just some of the absurdity that there's been. So I'm going to start this by just kind of talking about my own experience with this. I know Riptide hasn't had to deal with anything like this. However, I did have some videos, which I'm going to note these videos had been out for almost a year. Maybe actually, no, like a year and a half when this happened. So these videos, which had been out for a year and a half, I then I start getting emails about how my videos were getting age restricted to like 18 plus, and they were being made ineligible for ads, which I don't have enough subscribers to run ads on stuff, but it's still annoying when YouTube's restricting content that has been out for a year and a half and has no reason to be age restricted. And then so then I go on to file a complaint to YouTube and go, what's up with this? Why is this a thing? There's no reason why these should be age restricted. It's been out for a year and a half. Why is it just now getting age restricted, even if it should be age restricted? And then I get an email back, which was basically like, yeah, we're not unage restricting the content, and that's pretty much all it had. It didn't have any more information, didn't tell me why it was age restricted, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, I had a couple more videos get age restricted as well, and it was super annoying. And then just I check my YouTube page a couple days later, and it's just gone, like it never happened. And the thing that really annoyed me about it was two things. First off, the complete lack of information on why this stuff was getting age restricted. It was really random. It just happened out of the blue, no information. These videos had been up for a long time, and it's not like I'd seen some sudden spike in popularity where my channel would suddenly be noticed by YouTube. So very confusing on that end. And then the other thing is they sent me an email saying that they were not going to unage restrict the content, and then a couple days later just drop it. No additional information. I didn't get an email going. We re-reviewed it and realized that we had made a mistake or anything like that. They just suddenly were like, just complete silence. No additional information. They just removed it. They pretended it never happened.
Yeah, no, this is YouTube's, like, I know Mitch mentioned I haven't personally experienced random censorship or copyright strikes or anything like that. Like, when I've gotten copyright striked, I knew exactly what it was for without even looking at the strike. But yeah, YouTube has a big problem with random copyright restrictions, random censorship, random age restrictions. And, YouTube always points to look at how many people are on our platform, look how many people we have to manage. And, that's a valid point. It's hard to manage all those people and all those videos, but you can assume the system's automated, right? Like for instance, your two videos were almost definitely not reviewed by independent,
Yeah.
reviewers. And you're just saying there, like, yeah, you have to make some sort of automation system for it. But I watched those two videos of yours. Like, you resent them to me and was like, these are age restricted. So I remember watching them and just being like, there are no keywords, no trigger words, no nothing that would call for this to be age restricted. So I'm just sitting here wondering, why is YouTube doing this? And YouTube has always had a problem with communication to their creators. They always feel kind of disconnected. And this is just kind of continuing that trend with the random, copyright and censorship. And, for us, right at this point right now, this is just a hobby for us.
Yeah.
There are bigger channels out there that this happens to. And I'm not talking like the big channels like, PewDiePie or Mr. Beast or something like that. But, like ones that are just barely monetized that have like, we'll say like 400,000 subscribers, 300,000 subscribers. If this happens to them, they may have chosen YouTube as their pure source of income by that point. So when you start doing that, you are directly affecting their money. So maybe YouTube, you should take a bit more time to consider the implications of your faulty system.
Yeah, and
that's all I'm saying.
And I feel like if you have a faulty system, one thing that needs to be happening here is none of this suddenly it's pulled down, just who knows what happened. There needs to be, answers for the creators. Even if it's an automated message that gets sent, at least something that explains what's going on. Like, in the case where my videos got pulled down, get something sent saying, it's been flagged by an automated system as being inappropriate or whatever. That way, then I can be aware of it and I can take the appropriate actions to, go through it. Instead of just, it gets pulled. I don't know if somebody reviewed it and decided it was inappropriate. I don't know if it was a bot or whatnot. And then on top of that, when you send the email saying that it's not going to be reinstated after I sent a complaint, then you send an email saying it's not going to get reinstated.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it get reinstated? Not even 48 hours later. Like, you need some consistency when you're sending these emails to people. There needs to be some line of communication, some line of responsibility to the platform.
Yeah, people work really hard on their videos. Regardless of the amount of editing you do, just that act of recording something is draining. So when you take down a video, that is like deleting people's time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, especially for all the creators who don't have backups for their stuff. Like, I have my stuff set up to automatically upload to a second platform. That way I still have the videos if something happens. If YouTube,
I save all my videos.
Yeah, if YouTube suddenly decides to wipe all my stuff, I'll be good. However, the thing is, not everybody, has done that. And I could never store all my videos on my computer. I don't have close to enough space. I would fill up my 2 terabytes of storage like 6 times over if I was storing all my videos. Probably more than that. And that's not, obviously you still have to have the system and the game and all of that on your computer as well. So it's not like I can have computers solely dedicated to just storing my videos.
Yeah. So yeah, YouTube, that's just one of the many problems YouTube needs to fix, especially when it comes to trust between the content creators and their platform. Just one of the many things, which, don't worry, we will be picking on in future weeks. But anyway, guys, Mitch and I would like to thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the RichOnItch podcast. And we will catch you all in the next one.
Have a good one. Bye bye.